January 5, 1878. Lewiston Evening Journal, Lewiston, Maine. The Old World. Impressions of Paris, the Boulevards by Gaslight. Special correspondence of the Lewiston Journal. France is Paris. One hardly gives provincial France a thought. Paris is the head, Paris is the heels, and a good part of the French stomach. I come to the city in the glamour of gaslight and wander the boulevards, uncertain whether I am waking or dreaming. The gay equipages flutter by, the tippling chatter of the luxurious cafes, with their intoxication of wine and absinthe, makes one's head swim. I sit down in a cafe, luxuriously furnished, and muster sufficient French to order a glass of coffee, by the route of a swallow-tailed waiter. The chatter is wholly in French. There is an abandon in the manner of men and women which indicates the philosophy of the Parisian. Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. The laughter is not boisterous like that of an English cafe, nor are they bolting their lunch like Americans. But these Frenchmen are exquisite and refined in their pleasures. They tarry long at the wine, but they do not flood themselves. They sip. A Yankee or an Englishman pours. Hence, when the Frenchman is convivial, the Englishman or the Yankee is under the table. The French ladies are elegant, lithe, graceful. They make up in statuesque grace and art what they lack in natural beauty. I hardly see a handsome woman, but I see many women whom one cares to find some sudden reason for politely admiring with at least one eye. For beauty of features, American women are superior to all women. But for the woman of style and grace, for the woman who knows how to walk, the woman of queenly carriage draped with the nobleness of an antique statue, come to Paris. Somehow you do not call it absurd in Paris if a little poodle dog, dressed in a silk blanket, is tethered by a golden chain to this graceful being in a long train. But alas, there is one question which ripples on the surface of every foreigner's fancy as he passes one of these richly accoutred women on the boulevard. That question is this: does she belong to the demi-monde? Out under the stars which twinkle down into the boulevard, the theaters are crowded. Paris really but begins to wake up after gas is lighted. At midnight, Paris is in the height of its carnival. A Parisian laughs at a poor wretch who goes to bed as early as 10 o'clock. I encounter one young Frenchman, a journalist essayist, who never goes to bed until 4 o'clock in the morning. He spends the night at his club or with his pen and goes to bed as the sun gets up. His breakfast he takes about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He would exchange no part of the world for Paris. He talks of his mistress as you would of your household pets. It is not a matter to boast of as a vice, it is a matter of course, just as you keep a horse and carriage if you can afford them. The shops are a blaze of light, everything dazzles. But you reflect that the temptations of this city cannot assail a poor Yankee who is limited to 5 francs a day. Here is safety. Blessed be a little. I mouth over my stock of French phrases, in order more successfully to engage in mortal tussle with the French shopkeeper, and enter. The shopman touches his hat. I ask the price of a guidebook. 5 francs, he replies. Trop cher, I reply. I have been told you must always say trop cher because a Frenchman always expects to ask 10 to 20% more than he will take. 4 francs. I have saved 20 cents by the talismanic phrase. You touch your hat, the shopman bows, and the Yankee is on the street again. These splendid boulevards are alive with chatting pedestrians. Troops of boys are playing on the sidewalk. I almost envy them their readiness with the French language. I buy some fine oranges of a woman on the street for about half the New York price. In a little shop in an intersecting street, I buy a candle to save the 10 cents a day which the hotels charge for candles. You perceive that persons who have but 5 francs a day to expend cannot be luxurious even in candles. The old lady who sells me candles, I trow, was one of the Commune. The savageness of the Parisian hag is conspicuous. She led the fiends of both genders in the accursedness of the Commune. She lighted the torches and touched off the palaces. She butchered human beings like cattle. Is there any drunkenness in Paris? Look out there by that heap of brick and mortar. There is a fellow lying under a gaslight. You may hear him snore. He is an old soldier, very drunk, lying in his own vomit. Yes, a Frenchman may be a beast. Nay, beasts are not drunken. Here is a cheap cafe where the bourgeois do feast. There are within a party of men in blouses and of women in white caps. They have several bottles of wine on the table and are winking meditatively, and now and then exploding in laughter. They are doing economically what the elite do extravagantly. A bottle of wine may be had for 6 sous, 6 cents. A dish of bouillon or soup costs 3 sous. For 10 cents, a Frenchman may unlock his tongue and forget himself. The French cook will concoct a dinner out of materials which an American cook would throw away. This bouillon is the liquor in which beef has been boiled, a little spiced, with a few tiny squares of toast swimming on the surface. You ask, is there any genuine home life in Paris? Presumably there is, but the true Parisian is most at home on the boulevards, in the cafe, at the theater. Paris is beautiful and gay, but a slumbering volcano. I sleep tonight in a chamber perforated by the bullets of the Commune. July 4, 1924, Berkeley Daily Gazette, Berkeley, California. 8th Olympiad to be success is prediction. Nation may net profit. By Minot Sanders, United Press staff correspondent. Paris, July 4. Early events of the Olympic Games have been so successful in drawing crowds that there is a bright prospect that France will be able to clear expenses and possibly net a profit. With the big track and field events to come, close to 3 million francs have already been taken in. It is estimated that the French Olympic Committee will have to get 10 million to pay costs. Soccer football proved a great attraction. The popularity of this game has increased immensely, not only all over Europe, but in South American countries. And enthusiasts of countries not represented by teams were regular attendants. The game has been called in the French press the Esperanto of sport. 22 teams competed, and games were played at 4 stadiums around Paris. Weekday games were started as late as 6 o'clock in the evening to give office and factory workers a chance to attend. The result was that considerably over 2 million francs were realized in gate receipts. The French committee acted very wisely in dating the football and rugby events ahead of the games proper. In Antwerp, these sports came after the track events and were financial failures. Tennis will be a tremendous drawing card this year because the French team will be strong and, with Tilden out, the players hope to win the title. Helen Wills will be an added attraction, and with Lenglen playing, the women's tournament will get as good a gate as the men's. During the second half of July, there is scheduled a series of attractions that will appeal to French crowds, such as fencing, boxing, and swimming. The French have caught the Olympic spirit, and with an unexpected stake to start with, the committee hopes to set some Olympic records in gate receipts. Foreign visitors have shown a keen interest in the football events and have backed their teams in play. Already, Paris is crowded with visitors. Unfortunately, facilities for seeing the games are unsatisfactory, and it is impossible now to improve them greatly. The main entrance to the stadium is from a narrow street in a village, and traffic congestion makes approach impossible for autobuses. One must figure an hour to get from town to the stadium. Special buses require about 40 minutes, and they unload their passengers about half a mile from the main gate. Train service means even a longer walk over dirt roads that will either be muddy or dusty. Trolley car service is slow and annoying, and taxis are expensive because the stadium is outside the gates of Paris and, under the law, passengers must pay the tariff back to the gates. The stadium also leaves much to be desired in comfort. None of the seats have backs, and the grandstands are tin-roofed, giving the summer sun every possible chance. Refreshments, including beer and other drinks, are available, however, in the stands. A picturesque and somewhat ballyhoo mushroom settlement has sprung up around the stadium, giving the appearance of a country fair. Loitering crowds choke the roads, and, difficult as it is to get to the stadium, it is harder still to get back. Visitors have observed that perhaps the touchy temper of the crowds, which has been apparent more than once, might perhaps be due to the trying and nerve-wracking pilgrimage to the scene of the games. Olympic Village so far remains a deserted village. The committee had planned housing facilities for the athletes near the stadium, but the concessionaire has done his work miserably, and athletes who took up quarters there quickly moved away. The village is more like an army cantonment without any soldiers to police up. The condition of the roads without sidewalks and the sanitary precautions are such that the village is undesirable as a home for men who must primarily keep themselves fit. The committee is making a valiant effort to improve these conditions, but they will not be able to do very much. The shacks have only one small window, making ventilation inadequate. And just outside the village gate is a dusty country road, walled with temporary structures, and at least every other one is a wayside cafe. Coaches and trainers have walked down this street and condemned the Olympic Village before entering it. Inside the stadium, everything is nicely in order. The grass on the field is green and thick, and the track is in excellent condition.